Matter of Dhanasar? Matter of Dinosaur? Matter of Dhanasar? Hi, my name is Oscar and I'm a scientist. In today's video we're going to talk about the matter of Dhanasar, a very important case that set precedent and today dictates how the USCIS grants the EB2 NIW cases. The matter of Dhanasar is a decision from 2016 that created a precedent and dictates how the EB2 NIW cases are granted by the USCIS. Before then, there was another case from the 90s, from 1998, the matter of New York State Department of Transportation, that had been the guidelines to grant these cases, but they were a bit confusing. They were limited to people of a certain type of field, and matter of Dhanasar opened the EB2 NIW to a lot of different disciplines. You can review this decision. It's open, it's public. You can go and download it and read it carefully. In a separate, shorter video later this week, I'll show you what Dr. Dhanasar argued in his case and why USCIS approved it. Before that, let's take a quick look at what is the overall EB2 process. There are three stages. First, EB2 in general requires company sponsorship, and the company needs to file a labor certification. It's also called PERM. So that's the first step, and it takes about a year or a little bit longer. And then the company can file the I-140 petition, and then once approved or concurrently, they can do an adjustment of status. But for EB2 NIW, you can self-petition, you don't need a company, so you're asking the US government to waive this first step of the process. And in order for you to get approved, then you need to have to fulfill more requirements than an overall EB2 green card. This is a very high-level summary of what EB2 NIW is. On one hand, we have the general EB2 requirement. You have to have an advanced degree, that's master's or PhD. You can also have a bachelor with 5 years of progressive experience. And in those cases where professions where there's a requirement for a doctoral degree, then you need to prove that you have one. And if you don't have any of that, you can still fulfill this requirement by showing exceptional ability. There are a few criteria that they publish, and you can look at those and see if you can qualify. That's the general EB2 requirement. And then we have what matter of Dhanasar dictated that you needed if you wanted a waiver because of national interest. You have to have an endeavor, that's the prong number 1, that has substantial merit and national importance. You have to be well positioned to advance that endeavor, and on balance, it has to be beneficial for the country to waive the job offer or to waive that first step of the EB2 process, the labor certification. So let's talk about prong number 1. You have to have an endeavor first. You have to describe the endeavor, and according to the USCIS, an endeavor is more specific than just generally an occupation or a profession. So you have to give details on what you are planning to do if you come to the US. So, for example, you're going to say you're going to be an engineer or you're going to be a scientist. You have to provide an explanation of the details, the projects, the goals that that endeavor is going to entail. The matter of Dhanasar opened this green card category to many different disciplines, and that includes business, entrepreneurs, science, technology, culture, health, education, and this is not limited to these ones. Once you have the endeavor, you have to show that your endeavor is of substantial merit. And this is a little bit of a vague aspect to prove. And even the USCIS in their website, they don't offer a lot of details on how to substantiate this. So my recommendation is to articulate this part. You just give specifics about the endeavor, details, remind about the accomplishments you already have under your belt, so you can illustrate the merits, the complexity of it. Remember that substantial merit is something that is complex, is difficult, so you have to illustrate that. And if you have examples, that is better. And I would focus more on national importance because, first of all, the USCIS spends more time in their website and in their policy manual which I listed here. And by the way, today's slides all come from that policy manual. Focus on that more than substantial merit, because in my opinion, if something is of national importance, then it must be also of substantial merit. One is linked to the other. Talking about national importance, you have to really prove this, and this is key. This is very central to the petition, and officers will focus on the nature of the proposed endeavor, not only about the geographic location of the endeavor. The endeavor has to have national or even global implications in a particular field. For example, they give this example of manufacturing processes, improvements, or medical advances. It can have economic impacts that are positive. It can help employing US workers, or it can have a good impact on economically depressed areas. So those are examples taken from the USCIS website. So how do you do this in the petition? You have to describe the endeavor, and you have to provide documents as exhibits linking your endeavor to official documentation showing that the US is interested in this area or this field. I listed here a few examples that can help you put together your case. One is the website from Congress, so you can look for policy. And for example, let's say that you work on biofuels, so you can see if there's a lot of policy trying to promote biofuels and show that there's an interest on this subject. Similar with whitehouse.gov, you can look for speeches from the president or other members of the government, look at their initiatives, and see if you can link interest in the US government for that endeavor with what you do. Another good resource from the Department of Labor is this website, OneNet Online. You can find what professions are in high demand. And even though this is not by itself a reason to grant a green card, it can help you as an add-on aspect. And finally, scientific literature. You can, and this is not part of the official website, this is just a more generic one, but if you can find that the problem you're trying to solve is considered by the scientific community to be important and urgent, then you can use that. You can attach that as an exhibit and show that what you do is needed in the US. And an example of this would be, for example, climate change. You can find scientific articles in Google Scholar or other platforms showing that this is a very big problem. And if your endeavor can help with that, then that's a positive for your petition. Prong number two focuses on the person, not on the endeavor. So you should show that you're well positioned, that you have a track record and the skills necessary to succeed, to advance your endeavor. So you can do this with education, knowledge, record of success, plan. For example, you can write a personal statement describing specifically what you're planning to do, what activities you're planning to conduct. It can be a business plan if your endeavor is related to a business. You can show progress. So if you have already worked on that particular endeavor and you have achieved something, that's already a good sign for USCIS. You can show there is interest from customers, users, investors, any entities on your work. USCIS provides ideas on how to do this, how to prove you're well positioned. Any degrees, licenses, certificates, patents, copyrights, letters from experts, and I have a video on letters of recommendations and how they can be used and how to structure those letters. And I leave a link here in the corner and also in the description below. You can use those letters to show you're well positioned. If there's articles in the media, and that can be newspaper, radio, internet, whatever it is, showing your work and your achievements, that's really great. Any documentation, if you're a scientist, showing that your work is well cited. If you publish peer-reviewed articles or book chapters and people are talking about them or they are citing them in their own work, that is a positive aspect as well. If you have contracts, agreements, licenses showing the impact of your endeavor, you have letters of government agencies, that's really great. You have evidence that you have received awards from any institution, any organization, your company, that's something that you can leverage as well. If you have evidence that people have used your work, for example, contracts with companies, documents showing that you invented something, and of course, patents or licenses showing that your inventions have been used. My own addition to this is you can go to the exceptionality criteria in the USCIS website and use it as ideas of what you can provide in your cover letter as additional evidence. For example, if you have commanded a higher salary than others in your field, others with the same type of experience than you or the same number of years in the field, that shows that you are a person of exceptional ability and therefore you're well positioned. If you're a member of professional associations and you can show that you are active, for example, you go to conferences and you present there or you organize workshops, you can show that as an evidence. And of course, more on awards. If you have any type of recognition from your peers or from your company, that's something that also shows you're well positioned. Finally, prong number 3 is what we call on balance. And this is basically a prong where we bring everything together. And you need to demonstrate that it is justified that they waive the requirement of a labor certification for you. For that, you have to show that either the labor certification is impractical, that it benefits the US to have you, and even if there's US workers available, that you have extra skills and therefore is needed to accept you in the country, or that there is an urgency for a particular topic. Imagine that we're in the middle of a pandemic and you make vaccines, then that would be a nice way to show that they need to waive this labor certification requirement. Again, urgency is what USCIS mentions as a reason to waive that labor certification process. There are cases where it can be justified that they waive this process because the labor certification process is looking for the minimum requirements for an occupation. And if you can show that you are very skilled and you have very specific knowledge that is very important to have, then that is a reason to give in this particular prong. Because if a company were to do the labor certification, they would have to hire someone with less skills than you, and that would be detrimental. If the work you do generates a lot of revenue or helps with the economy, that's another reason. If you can help with job creation, that's another reason. And for example, if you're a businessman, you can again cite your business plan here. How do you convey this into your petition? Well, use your own words in the cover letter or quotes from the reference letters to show again that you have an impressive track record of achievements, that your work is on the national interest, it has national importance, and argue that this labor certification is not adequate because you have stronger skills than the minimum needed for the job. So if a company were to do the labor certification, they would lose you. They would have to hire someone with less, a lower level of skills. Um, a couple of them that I consider interesting if you're already in the US and you can use reference letters from someone in your company to help you with this is your organization's mission would be at risk if they lose you, or the organization where you work, they have shown that they want you in the long term. Labor certification is impractical. For example, there are cases of entrepreneurs or inventors where they are not applying for typical conventional jobs, so the labor certification makes no sense. And these are the 3 prongs from the matter of Dhanasar. I hope you thought this video is interesting. If you did, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and visit my website EB2NIW.info, where you can find a lot of free information, and also you can download my petition, a successful real petition. Later this week, I'll have a shorter video showing you what Dr. Dhanasar argued to the USCIS.